There we go. That leads right into communication. So, as the slide says, email does provide the quickest response. And a lot of that is because when we're here on campus during the day, we're working with students a good part of the time. So if I have a student waiting for me and I've called that student out of class and I get a phone call from a parent, more than likely that student is going to come first. And of course I'm going to return the phone call, but in between students I can respond to an email. So email typically provides you the best response. Also, when we're back and forth between Kingwood and Creekwood and Riverwood, sometimes we have a break when we're at the middle schools and we can answer an email right away, but we don't have access to a phone. So I would encourage you to reach out to us via email when you need us, but please also continue to reach out to your 8th grade counselors because they have a lot of knowledge. Some resources that will be helpful for you are the Kingwood High School counselor website. So if you just go to the main Kingwood page, along the left there's a quick links to get you to the counselor page. There's probably more information on that website than you want to know, but there's quite a bit. And then the Humble ISD course guide will provide you with a lot as well. And I'll show you in another slide how much you can find on that Humble ISD course guide. The Humble ISD CTE website, so Ms. Hendricks was up here representing CTE. The Career Technology Department through the district has their own website, and there's a lot of information there about opportunities, about endorsements. There are some amazing flowcharts as well. So there's that information. Let's see if I have a manual clicker. Manual clicker. Okay. So again, we're planning for not only high school, but beyond. So some of the things I'm going to talk about, and I know it sounds crazy because you have an 8th grader, and I'm going to be talking about college requirements, but we're always preparing and looking ahead to prepare your students for that next step. So one of the things to prepare your student for high school and beyond is our district's portrait of a graduate. Some of you may be familiar with this. There was a committee comprised of faculty members, of parents, of students, of community members, and this committee got together and thought, what do we want our students, what skills do we want our students to have? What does a graduate of Humble ISD look like? And these are all the qualities that they'd like to see in a graduate. So there's communicator, global citizen, critical thinker, creative innovator, leader and collaborator, and personally responsible. So all of those things are important too. Family, faculty, community. When we plan for the future years, there are some things that I want to point out regarding this portrait of a graduate. Under the personally responsible, you'll notice that there's a health and wellness, a school work-life balance. And I know some of our instructional leaders that were up on the stage talked about that a little bit earlier, but finding that balance is so crucial. I work in education. I think education is very important, but I also understand through my counseling that social emotional is important as well. So having a balance, I think, is critical. Under the career readiness, you'll see work ethic, goal-driven, time management, organizational skills. So all of these things are important now in your child's life, but especially in planning. So when we're thinking about planning for high school, please keep these things in mind. Oh, maybe I clicked, maybe you clicked. Okay, so I mentioned earlier I'd come back to the Humble ISD course guide, otherwise known as the high school planning guide. We use those terms synonymously. So on the Humble ISD course guide, these are the types of things that you'll find. You'll find graduation requirements, which we'll talk a little bit more about, grade point equivalencies, a GPA explanation, so if you want to know exactly how GPA is calculated, it'll show you a step-by-step how to do that, award of credit, so how credits are earned, recommended course placements, and course descriptions. So it'll list the courses and give descriptions of each course. So there's a wealth of information in this course guide. Let me see. Okay, clicker. As was mentioned earlier, your student will need to take and meet the standard for 5 end-of-course exams. So those end-of-course exams are in English 1, English 2, Algebra 1, Biology, and U.S. History. Okay, what's a credit? So students need to earn credits to graduate, okay? In middle school, it's important that they pass their classes. But sometimes, even if a student doesn't meet the standard, they still move on. In high school, we're based on credits. So a credit is earned by successfully completing a semester of a course with a grade of 70 or higher. If for some reason one of those semesters doesn't make it to 70, if the yearly average is 70, then that full credit is earned, okay? So let's do some math. We offer, right now, assuming this doesn't change, we offer 7 periods in the school day. So if your student takes 7 periods of classes each year of high school, how many, if I can talk, will they have when they graduate? 28. That's 28 credits, right? So a full year of passing a class, that's a credit. That's pretty easy, huh? Attendance does matter, though. So students who are not in attendance 90% or more of the time can actually be denied credit. So it is important that they're here at school for a variety of reasons, but a major reason is for earning the credit. And then 26 credits are required for graduation. So you can see that although they might have the opportunity to earn 28, there's a little bit of wiggle room there. So as far as what they need to graduate, all students will be on the Foundation High School program, okay? And all students will choose an endorsement. This is where it gets a little tricky because the endorsements are specific and there are specific courses required for each endorsement. This is where some people might start to get a little anxious, hopefully not panic, but oh my goodness, I'm choosing this thing called an endorsement. I don't even know what that is. I'm going to try to simplify it as much as I can as we go on. But endorsements require some type of a series of courses. Many of them have a required sequence in which a student will take the courses. And then the planning guide or the CTE website would have those specific requirements, but I'll go over them in a little bit more detail. Okay. If you have an older student who is not on the foundation plan, in order to earn distinguished, they had to have 3 years of a foreign language. That's not the case anymore. So now in order for a student to get distinguished level of achievement, they have to graduate on the foundation plan with an endorsement and take Algebra 2, okay? A 3rd year of a foreign language might be a great option for your student, but it's not required to earn this distinguished level of achievement. So students who earn this, the foundation with, we call it DLA, Distinguished Level of Achievement, are eligible for top 10% admission if they're in the top 10%. Okay, you still have to be in the top 10% to be eligible for the top 10% admission. So what is an endorsement? Really what it is, it's a broad area of study, kind of like an interest area or a focus for the elective courses. So you may be thinking, okay, my child's in 8th grade. Why are you pigeonholing them? Why are you making them choose so early? I understand those concerns. For students who have an idea or know or think they know what they want to do, planning for the 4 years with that endorsement opens up a lot of avenues. It allows them to plan ahead and to follow that plan and follow that sequence of courses throughout the 4 years. Now, will they change their mind? A lot probably will, and that's okay. Okay? The next bullet point. Choosing a path early doesn't lock them in. Okay, so they will choose an endorsement, and I'll talk to you about that in a little bit, about what our timeline is. They will have to choose an endorsement, but please know that they're not locked in. They can change their mind at any time, as long as the endorsement they want to choose to, they have enough time and other courses to meet that requirement, okay? Starting this process early gives students the opportunity to figure out, what do I like and what do I not like? So a student may come in thinking they really want to do a business and industry endorsement and focus on accounting. And then they get in and take that first accounting class and realize, I don't think accounting's for me, so let me try something else. And maybe they try health science and realize they love that and continue with that. So yes, we're asking them to choose, but please know that they're not going to be locked into anything. Okay, so how do colleges view the graduation requirements that the state of Texas has? It depends on the college, okay? Each college has specific requirements. Even colleges in the state of Texas have their own requirements. So it's very important for you and your student together to, and I know you may not know where they want to go to college right now, but if they have a dream school, it'd be okay to go to those websites and take a look. It's important to check the admissions requirements so that you know that your student's on the right path, okay? We're gonna start everybody in the right sequence of courses, okay, in that first level. But as you get further on and you get closer and closer to college, it becomes more and more important to check what those requirements are. Okay, so this is what's required for graduation on the foundation plan. So in English, students are required 4 credits or 4 years of English. They must take English 1, English 2, and those are the courses where they have to take and meet the standard for that end of course exam. You probably know as the STAR test. In high school we call it EOC, end of course exam. They will take English 3 and an additional English. And there are some options when you get to the 4th year for what that 4th English will be. Okay? For math, Algebra 1, where they'll take the EOC, the end of course exam, geometry, Algebra 2, and an additional math. So 4 credits of math as well. And then when you go to science, 4 credits of science. You see a theme here? 4, 4, 4 so far. Okay. Biology, 1 credit lab-based course, and our lab-based courses are over there on the right, the lower right. And those courses are IPC, which stands for Integrated Physics and Chemistry. It's kind of an introduction to physics and chemistry. Okay. Chemistry, physics, and principles of physics, so those are our lab-based courses. And then 2 additional science courses. Okay? So far, so good? Okay. For social studies, I know Ms. Fontenot spoke about this already. So as far as the foundation high school plan with endorsement, for the most part, 3 years of social studies are required. There are some endorsements, and I'll talk about those in just a bit. There are some endorsements that will require 4 or more years of social studies. Okay, but the basic plan is 3 years of social studies. So they can choose from world history or world geography, and then they have to take U.S. history and U.S. government and economics. And government and economics are each a semester-long course. Okay, that's what they'll take their senior year as a semester-long course. So even though this says world history or world geography, we do highly recommend, and I know Ms. Fontenot said this, and it's not just because she's the social studies lead teacher, but our district, our campus, myself personally, we feel strongly that your student takes 4 years of social studies unless there is a strong, compelling reason that you have for them not taking those, okay? There are still many colleges that require 4 years of social studies for admission. These courses, if your student, and you may not know this, but if they're NCAA bound, you know, having another core class in a core area can help with their NCAA GPA. So there are a lot of reasons that we recommend the 4 years of social studies. Okay, the other graduation requirements. 2 credits of LOTE, or LOTE, if you're a Spanish-speaking person. It stands for Languages Other Than English, okay, otherwise known as foreign language. 2 years of languages other than English. 1 credit of PE, 1 credit of fine art, and that's a total, again, of 26 credits. So here are the endorsements. The good news is there are only 5. That's not so complicated, right? Just 5. You just choose one of 5. Not so bad. And, let's go back to the other side real quick. One of the things, and this may be a little bit early to tell you, but a lot of our students don't realize is there are only 5 endorsements. And on a student's high school transcript, and that when the transcript lists the endorsement, these are the only 5 that are on the transcript. Okay, now, there are multiple ways to earn those endorsements, and that's where things get a little bit complicated, but there are only 5 endorsements. Okay, now we can move on. Here are some examples. So, one of those was arts and humanities. So up here is a chart with the arts and humanities endorsement, fine arts cluster. Okay, so the fine arts cluster, since my clicker doesn't work, I'm gonna put that down. The fine arts cluster will, so if you look up at the chart, see for English, you've got your 4 credits of English. If you go down that column, your 4 math, 4 science, 3 social studies, but what would we recommend? 4, you got it, okay. And then you have the foreign language, or LOTE, the PE, fine art. On most plans, it's just 1. But if you want the arts and humanities fine arts cluster, then you need 4 credits of fine arts in 1 or 2 disciplines of fine arts. So it can't be band 1 year, choir 1 year, orchestra another year, and then dance. It has to be through 1 or 2 disciplines. But if your student loves orchestra and they're going to do orchestra for 4 years, this is an easy endorsement to strive for. Okay? Next. Notice this is still arts and humanities, but this is the LOTE cluster. So all your other requirements are the same, English, math, science, social studies, but instead of 2 credits of foreign language, this is 4 credits of foreign language, okay? And it's in 1 or 2 languages. So it's not 1 year of French, 1 of German, 1 of Spanish, 1 of sign language. It's you pick 1 or 2 languages and focus on those to total 4 credits. The next arts and humanities option is the social studies option. So this is the one endorsement that requires 5 credits of social studies. So your student would take the 4 that I've already mentioned, and then they could pick up something like AP Psychology, AP European History, or Psychology and Sociology, something like that. So 5 credits of social studies. Now we're moving on to business and industry. I know this is hard to read, so just know that there's a follow-up slide, okay? But if you'll notice, you have the same basic: English 4, math 4, science 4, social studies 3, but we say 4. And then your foreign language, PE, fine art. And then it says a coherent sequence of CTE courses for 4 or more credits chosen from the following. And it lists a bunch of different areas. And on the next slide, if you go to that, these are all those areas, okay? So your student can earn a business and industry endorsement through one of these pathways. So the top one, if they're interested in ag, if they want to take agriculture classes and maybe be a part of FFA and raise an animal, if they're going to do that all 4 years and get 4 credits, they can get that endorsement, okay? Or they can get the business and industry endorsement through that pathway, okay? If your student is interested, I mentioned accounting earlier. If they're interested in accounting, they might earn the business and industry endorsement through the finance pathway. So take 4 credits of finance classes. So these are all the ways, the different pathways that your student can earn a business and industry endorsement. Okay, next. Now we're on to public service. This is very similar to the business and industry. Everything else lines up just like business and industry, but the focus of the electives are something public service related, okay? So instead of being in a business field, it's more of a public service field. So on the next slide, it'll show you the different ways that you could earn the public service endorsement. So education and training, human services, law, health science, JROTC. So if your student takes 4 credits in any of those areas, then they could earn that public service endorsement. And finally, we're at the STEM. Not finally. I'm getting ahead of myself. There's one more after this. The STEM endorsement, though, there are a few different options. This is the math option, okay? You have your English 4. Notice with your math, it says 5. So in order to earn the STEM endorsement through the math pathway, you have to have 5 credits of math. So if your student is already in Algebra 1 as an 8th grader this year and plans to take math all throughout high school, that's pretty doable. Another option is if they're not, but they want to double up on math, junior or senior year, they could and still earn the STEM math endorsement. Now, one thing I do want to point out is when you notice where it says science, the science is not quite as flexible with the STEM endorsement. Students have to take biology, chemistry, and physics, and then their 4th science is of their choosing. It's an additional science. If your student really, really wants to take IPC next year and doesn't want to take biology, they could, here's my however, they would have to take 4 more sciences. They'd have to take biology, chemistry, physics, and an additional science besides the IPC, okay? All right, another STEM option is STEM science. So here, whereas math, you had 5 math credits, here for science, you have 5 science credits. So everything else is the same, all your core and all your other required, your language, PE, fine arts, but you have 5 science credits, and they have to be, 3 of them have to be biology, chemistry, and physics. And the last STEM option is STEM engineering. There's that biology, chemistry, and physics for the science. That hasn't changed. And then this is similar to the business and industry and public service endorsements in that 4 of their elective courses have to focus on something engineering related, okay? So this requires more courses of focus other than the math and science for the STEM, okay? And now lastly, the multidisciplinary. Multidisciplinary really is just your student needs to have 4 years of the 4 core, so 4 English, 4 math, 4 science, 4 social studies. They're required to have 4 social studies on this one. They have their language, PE, fine art, and the electives are flexible. Okay? There's a core course option and an advanced course option. The advanced course option just requires that your students have 4 credits in either dual or AP courses. But remember what I said earlier? There are 5 endorsements, and no matter which avenue your student takes, it's just the main category that shows up on the transcript. So it doesn't matter so much which of these you choose. The transcript is going to say multidisciplinary, and the colleges are going to see that the transcript says multidisciplinary as well, okay? Go back. Thanks. Multidisciplinary does have a lot of benefits. It serves some different purposes. If your student has no idea what they want to do and they want to try some different things, this might be a good starting point for them. And then if they discover, oh, well, I really liked that law class that I took Principles of Law, and I love that, I want to keep up with that. If they continue to do that, then they can always add on the public service endorsement with a law focus, okay? In reverse, If your student takes the law class freshman year thinking that they're going to do the public service and they don't like it so much, and then they try something else and they don't like that so much, and then they try something else, then they might not have a coherent sequence, and multidisciplinary might be your fallback. Okay, so it serves some different purposes. This is one of the reasons, not the only, but this is one of the reasons that we do encourage you to have your student take 4 years of social studies or 4 credits of social studies, because it's required on multidisciplinary, and this is a pretty popular endorsement for our students just because of the flexibility that it offers. Okay? Okay, now I'm ready to move on. So what can you do? How can you help? Just work with us. Partner with your middle school counselor. Partner with us. Talk with your student. That's really, really important, having these conversations. Just the fact that you're here, wanting to hear this information, I'm really excited about. But don't let it stop with this. Please have these conversations and talk to your students. Visit the websites and look at the big picture. I know I've said that, probably can't say it enough, but consider more than just the courses. Consider more than just the courses, and not the courses in isolation, but look at the big picture. Maybe your student is smart enough to take English 1 pre-AP and Biology pre-AP and Algebra 1 pre-AP, but when you put it all together, it might be too much. So don't consider the courses in isolation, but really look at the big picture. And then review and finalize your course selections by the last day of school, and we'll get to that in a bit. So here's our timeline. The timeline actually starts today with you, but you're here, so we didn't put that on the slide. But we are excited to have the 8th graders coming over the next couple of days. So we'll have Creekwood tomorrow and Riverwood on Thursday, and they'll have an opportunity to view all the CTE courses and talk with those teachers, look at the programs. And then the week after Thanksgiving, so after this week, we have a break. And coming back from that break, their 8th grade counselors will be working with them, going into a computer lab and actually choosing their endorsement. So this is where it's crucial that you start to have your conversations now. Talk to your student. Hey, I went to parent night. We talked about this endorsement stuff, and maybe you saw some of the courses. And after they come, ask what they thought and what they're interested in, and you can start to have those conversations about endorsements, because they will be choosing one at the end of the month. Okay? They will be choosing one. Can we change it? Yes, we can change it. It's not locked in. We can change it, but they will be choosing one for now. Okay? For the purposes of our course planning, students will only choose one endorsement. Even if they want to try to earn multiple endorsements, they're just going to stick with one for now, and as they meet criteria for more, we can always add those on later. Okay? Okay, and then, go back one. And then we will go, I say we, the Kingwood counseling team, will go to the middle schools the first week of December. So they'll choose their endorsement at the end of this month, and then the next week we'll go in with them and we'll actually work with them on their courses for their 4-year plan. So we'll help them to choose all those courses and including their electives. One thing I don't know that I've mentioned, but I think is really important to you, is please don't get so wrapped up with the endorsement, but think about just, what does your student want to do? What types of classes do they want to take? What activities do they want to become involved in? And we'll work out the details. So please don't get wrapped up in the verbiage of endorsement, and don't let it scare you. It's really more about, what do they want to do? And let's plan for that. Okay, next. Okay, then we're going to have a break. We're going to have a break in December. When we come back in January, Kingwood counselors will go back again, one last time, and we'll actually sit down one-on-one with the students in our part of the alphabet, and we'll finalize those 4-year plans, okay? So at that time, when we go back, after we meet with your student, we're gonna hit this lock button, okay? And what that means is, we've reviewed the plan, it's locked for now, and I say for now. but we'll still have a course verification process that goes through the end of the school year. So even though we hit that lock button, please don't feel like those courses are locked in, okay? The bottom line is really critical. Please review your child's four-year plan, and it says Choices 360. That's the old Bridges. I'm going to talk about that, okay? Please go into the account and review your child's four-year plan with them sometime between December 7th and January 14th. So December 7th is when we create the plan with them in a group setting. And then January 14th is the first day that we sit down with them one-on-one and we'll lock their plan. So if you want to look at their four-year plan after it's created and tweak things, please do that before we meet with them one-on-one. So that's your time frame. You got a little over a month, about 5 weeks between December 7th and January 14th. Okay. Can students make changes to their four-year plan? I think you know the answer to this. I hope I've emphasized that enough. Yes, absolutely. Okay? They can change them for the current year through the course verification process, and every spring, counselors will meet with students and review their course plan to make sure that those plans are appropriate for them and make changes as needed. Okay. So I mentioned that Bridges is no more. Bridges has converted and upgraded to a program called Choices 360. So if you hear Choices 360, that's the old Bridges, okay? The login is the same as it's always been, as it was for Bridges. You may not have needed to know this so much in middle school, but you'll need it now. So your student's username is Humble, followed by their 6-digit student ID number, and Humble is all lowercase. And then their password is just their 6-digit ID number. So that's how you'll log in, that's how they log in. You can log in to their account. Okay, I know this is hard to see, but once you're logged in, you're going to click on high school planning. And that makes sense, right? That's what we're doing. We're planning for high school, so you'll click on high school planning. After that, you're going to click on your plan of study. And then finally, you're going to click on what the current course plan is called. Most of them, they're titled Basic. That's just the default. So you'll click on Basic. Once you do that, you'll see a grid of a four-year plan for your student, and at that point in time, you can go in and make changes with them. Okay, next. So things to consider when choosing the level of courses. I think our lead teachers did a great job of talking to you about the differences between level and pre-AP, but just keep in mind that they're both college prep. A lot of people think, oh, well, if I don't take pre-AP classes, I'm not going to be prepared for college. All of our courses at Kingwood High School are college prep. Okay, that is our goal for them. Okay, both level and advanced courses promote, you know, those portrait of a graduate competencies, the lifelong learning and the critical thinking, reasoning. Please consider obligations and time commitments outside of academics, and I know I've mentioned that before. Okay, next. So students who are successful in pre-AP, number one, they have excellent attendance. It's hard to miss school and keep up. It's extra hard to miss school in a pre-AP class and keep up. Okay, so attendance is very crucial. They have to be invested in it. Okay, so it's not just mom and dad or my aunt and uncle or grandparents want me to take advanced courses. I'm interested in doing it. I'm interested in that content and that material. I'm dedicated and I'm willing to put in the time. Okay? So they have to be willing to take assignments above the basic requirements and prioritize all their commitments. All right. Next. Okay, so we have a time study of 2 freshmen from this school year. This is just one random week of the school year that actually happened about a week ago. Okay? And so it's 2 students. Their results are somewhat similar and somewhat different, but I'll let you take a look. Here's student number 1. So So student number 1 is taking a lot of advanced classes, is involved in orchestra and JV swim. On any given day, they're doing something. Okay, Monday through Sunday, they're doing something that has to do with school. There are some days where, like Sunday was only 30 minutes, but if you notice, Thursday, 200, I can't read, 50 minutes. That was a busy day. And I'm guessing that they had several tests on Friday. Okay, that was a Thursday night. Okay, so this student, just outside of classes, because we're not counting class time, outside of classes, spent 13 hours doing something school related outside of class. The next student, student number 2, taking similar classes, is also involved in band, principles of health science. This student's time doubled. Okay? This student spent, I can't see what the highest is because it's hard, but 200 something, but there are a few up there in the 200 range. Okay? A lot of this has to do with the swimmer. Swim wasn't in season. Band, they are. Okay? Keep in mind for band, and I was thinking that this wasn't the night of a football game, but they still put in 150 minutes on a Friday. If you have students in band or football, if they have games on Wednesday or Thursday, they're going to have a lot of commitments during the week as well. Okay, so just, you can decipher what you want to decipher, but we wanted to just provide you with some of this information of what that looks like for a student. Okay, next. I've mentioned that your student is not going to be locked in. I promise they're not going to be locked in. However, we do want your student to be very mindful and make very purposeful decisions, okay? And take those decisions seriously. So we actually are going to have a deadline for you to submit course changes. So the process starts now, and you have all the way until the last day of school to work on things and to make changes if you want to, and we will certainly work with you on that. But course verification process will start in the spring. So after they've chosen their courses and we've locked them in, we'll give you opportunities in March, April, and May to make changes to courses for next year. Your change request will actually be turned into your 8th grade counselor, and they'll ship them over to us, and then we'll change them on our end. But please be mindful that the final deadline to submit course changes is going to be the last day of school, which is May 31st this year. So at the end of May, that will be your final opportunity to submit course changes for a variety of reasons, a lot of which has to do with staffing and trying to keep class sizes even, because that's the best learning environment for your student. So please be mindful of that deadline. Next. Okay. The counselors at Kingwood have a Remind set up. I don't know if your campus uses Remind. It used to be called Remind 101, but I think it's Remind now. This is for the counseling department, and we set this up specifically for your child's graduating class, the class of 2023. You can either choose to get push notifications, which are those alerts. Sometimes I get an alert across my phone how my fantasy football team's doing. So you could get those push notifications, or if you prefer to get a text, you can sign up that way. But this is what we've set up for you, okay? I encourage you to enroll in one of these so that you get notifications, and I don't think that we over-notify you. We don't really abuse that, okay? Other ways to stay in touch are following the Kingwood High School Twitter, and the Kingwood counselors, newly this year, have our own Twitter. So feel free to follow Kingwood High School or Kingwood counselors. If you do a Google search for it, I'm sure they'll both pop up, but please sign up for those to get reminders.